Live. Good morning. Happy Wednesday. It's hump day. We're joined by Chase. He's just hopping on. We're going to talk a little bit today about mindful eating and the benefits around that, how it can lead to faster results. And this is something that I think is, well, we'll dive into it, but it's so common right now with our community. And look, we got Chase. Good morning, Chase.
What's going on here? I think I got a little.
I think I have to turn on my headset over here.
All right. Can you hear me?
We got it, loud and clear. I had to put you on my headset. All right, cool.
There we go.
Time to jump in. So let me tag everyone. But I guess first let's start by defining. Right? What is mindful eating? Right? Intuitive eating. Let's give a definition, and then we'll jump into some of the benefits while I tag everyone.
Yeah. So mindful eating is, mute my computer too. With a lot of extra noise going on.
You're fine.
But mindful eating is just kind of really, as much as you can, slowing down and being able to enjoy and be grateful for the food that you have, while also being able to listen to your body and allow it to, process what is happening. So yeah, pretty much just being able to slow yourself down a little bit, as hard as it can be with what we got going on day to day. We have our phones in front of us. There's a lot of different distractions that happen. Being able to minimize those distractions and really focus on what is in front of you at that time, which is your food, and the fact that you're going to be consuming food.
Yep.
And yeah, so that's essentially the definition of what we're going to be talking about.
And kind of the overview. I like it. And good morning, Montoya. Good to see you this morning. Elizabeth, good to see you this morning. Yeah, I feel like this is so common. And I mean, me and you were talking about this before the call, right? As an RN, you are hustling. I mean, you are going hard. There are things being thrown at you, whether it be extra shifts during the shift. Like, I know a lot of our clients, they aren't even allowed to have water at the nurse's station for whatever reason, right? It's just like, there's so many obstacles that could potentially be in the way. Plus, we already know mental health, right, in just in healthcare for the practitioner is can be challenging because there's a lot of things we're dealing with. So we're told as we go through nursing school to essentially compartmentalize emotion. Hey, you shouldn't feel this because this is going to affect your ability to go into your next patient. But we have to at some point slow down and feel, or we're just going to bottle it all up.
Yep.
So the idea behind mindful eating, right, is to be able to sit distraction free, to feel the sensations that are actually happening in your body, whether it be satisfaction, whether it be fullness. And I think that's the first one, right? Mm-hmm. Just slowing down so you can feel the fullness so that you don't eat as much, which in turn can lead to a fast result because you're naturally eating less. Because I've heard a few of them. I don't know if there's anything that comes to mind for you. What are some of the things that allow you to slow down, when you're eating, if assuming you're not mid-shift?
Yeah. I mean, taking a moment to, once you get done with your food, taking a moment to sit down and, like I said, be distraction free is number one, but also, being able to practice gratitude, which is also one of those things that we don't do very often as well. But take a second before you eat and just express the gratitude for the food that you're able to eat, because it's definitely something that we forget that we have, that is just it's abundant here, and it's something that we forget that it's a blessing to be able to even sit down and eat that food and fill your bellies. So
that's true.
That's one thing. And then just kind of be aware of any kind of thoughts and emotions that surround you around that meal. I mean, and that's a good time, obviously we want you to focus on the food, but that's a good time to really reflect on the day and just kind of have a moment to yourself and just kind of think about what's going on that day. What do you got going on for the rest of the day? And just be in the moment, because then it's, we talk about it all the time, but gratitude and practicing, journaling, doing these different things, being able to focus on your well-being is important. And that's a moment where you should be able to just sit back, eat your food, but also focus on a little bit of your well-being as well.
They say, or psychologists say, I don't know which ones, but I've heard it many times. Psychologists say the healthiest human emotion you can feel next to love is gratitude. I've heard people also say that you cannot feel angry and grateful simultaneously. And there is something to be said that actually goes in line. If anyone saw Coach Andrew's podcast yesterday, we were talking about lowering the stress response, shutting off the slow drip of cortisol, which inhibits fat loss.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the ways that you can actually do that pretty quickly, although I'll be the first to say it's not easy all the time, right? When you're feeling angry or frustrated, like to sit down and count your blessings, it's like, go fuck yourself. Yeah, right? Like I don't want to do that all the time. But when you do, the power is immense. And not just list them. I've gotten into the habit when doing gratitudes that I've like sat down and I just start logically thinking about them and I list them out, but I don't feel them. Mm. And it's not about width with looking at gratitudes. It's about depth, being able to feel it, focus on one thing and the depth of it. For me, I could sit here, and say like, oh, the roof over my head, the food in the kitchen, the blah, blah, blah. But if I don't feel it, it's not going to change my biochemistry. So sitting and feeling, and one of the best ways to do that, you can hack this, right? We're always trying to hack human biology. One of the ways you can do it is by listening to music, right? So listening to music, getting yourself into a place, like I know for me, I like those EDM bangers, baby. So I like, the rise, and then boom, and then, the bass drops, and it's like, rush of euphoria. It's like, that helps me kind of get into the moment. And that's what we're trying to do. It's so easy to be in our head a lot. So it's almost like in these moments of gratitude, we're trying to get out of our head and into our heart, which again, easy to say, hard to do. Do you have any other strategies to be able to, take a moment and become present before eating?
Yeah, I mean, just like I said, kind of with that, we did kind of list a few things there, but really just take your time and, savor each bite, really. I mean, and I think this also goes into it too, where I think, do you know how many bites? I think I'm getting this right. I might be a little off, but do you know how many bites it takes you to actually properly digest your food?
I don't.
For one particular bite, it's like 27 bites.
Damn.
27.
I don't think I have the jaw muscle for 27 bites.
Exactly. But that thought itself of just like slowing it down and kind of paying attention to, there's some times where you can get things are so busy, things are so hectic that you just sit down, you don't even think about it, and that's when you're on your phone too. Right. You're just shoveling food in. Yes. You're doing 2-3 things at a time, and your body doesn't have the time. Your hormones and hunger hormones and all that stuff don't have the time to catch up to the speed of what you're eating, and that's where we often see people overeat, over consuming in a sit.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Great point. The 27, I haven't heard that before. Yeah. Oh man, I can almost see your shirt. Man, we should angle the camera down so we can, so we get the full view. No, just kidding. You can do whatever you want. Molly, good morning. Good to see you. Yeah, Connor, good to see you as well, brother. For those of you who don't know, some of you probably know Connor. He's one of our enrollment coaches. He's watching as well. So 2 things come to mind with that. The first one, you said save your bites. One of the ways, and I've been doing this now for months, hopefully I never stop, but I always start every meal with my eyes closed. Now I know what you're thinking. Yeah. But what about predators? What if I get attacked? Don't worry, you'll be fine. But closing my eyes and just it forces me to be present. And I don't think I'm crazy, but that first bite, that first and second bite with my eyes closed, I taste way more intensely, especially with steak. Oh my God. Yeah. That steak just hits. Oh man, I'm getting excited already. Like, it's just that first bite, but it also goes with anything I'm eating, even if it's like salad and I can taste a little bit of the, the vinegar and the dressing, or it's just like being present and closing my eyes allows me to feel more. So that's one thing that I've actually been doing to be more present while eating. The second thing, which I've gotten from Coach Charity way back when, is just putting your fork down in between bites. I know a lot of the time we're conditioned, right? Especially being an RN. Look, if you're working and you haven't eaten anything and you're shaking, this doesn't apply to this, right? Like, this is not what this applies to. Get in your food, do what you gotta do. But what we sometimes get in the habit of is, because we do that on shift, we also do it off shift, right? We almost only have one speed to eating. Where, look, I get it. You know, you're hustling, eat quick. But then when you're not on shift, develop these other habits. Take the moment to sit, eyes closed, take the bite. And again, I look like a fool, especially in restaurants, because I do it in restaurants. So like, my guilty pleasure right now is chicken and waffles. I went to breakfast on Sunday, chicken and waffles. Man, I had that first bite, and literally, no joke, full restaurant, and I'm sitting there, and I let out an audible, and literally, I like opened my eyes, and like, I'm like, oh, right? But like, it was very funny to me. But like, again, it, you know, brings me back into that moment. So that, and then also just putting the fork down between bites, right? Again, just putting the fork down to chew and fully get that food down, and just be present with the people around you. Talk. Like, I know I got in the habit with my wife, because we had a newborn at the time, where we wouldn't even talk when we eat. So we would just eat pretty much as fast as possible so we can go back to attending to, you know, our son. But because we were so tired. But now we're really focused on like having a conversation. I don't have to always be chewing food while we're eating dinner. Like, I don't always have to be chewing while I'm at this dinner table. It's kind of the takeaway. At least something that's helped me, and it improved my relationships too. And all of this is whole, right? This isn't about like just eating or just nutrition or just weight loss. Like, all of this comes together into your life, and you know, can improve your relationships as well.
Yeah, I like that, what you're saying with the, you know, slowing down eating, and the chicken and waffles. I can connect with that. Love me some chicken and waffles. But yeah, I mean, that is, you know, that is a big part of it that I feel like we often forget about, is like, and you know, you see this, like, you know, maybe growing up, maybe you had it growing up, but like dinner table, like family dinner table conversations, whether it be, and that's something, you know, I try to make sure that it is a priority for myself, my wife, and my son, is like, when we eat, no phones, nothing nearby. We're talking, we're kind of chatting about the day. Well, I can't talk much, but he's usually shouting something. But you know, just being in that moment and like enjoying the company, enjoying the family, enjoying the people that you're with, can also help slow you down. You know, like you said, put the fork down, talk, have a conversation. It's you don't need to be the first one done, because then at that point you're just waiting and watching everybody else eat.
And you know, to pivot this really quickly, you know, I know there was a time in my life in my 20s, right? I, you know, was not in a relationship at the time, and I would always watch TV or YouTube video while I was eating, because again, it's boring as hell to just sit there, right? Two things with that. The first one is, you know, I was listening to a podcast recently from, I think it was Stanford Business School that posted it, and they were talking about how the magic of productivity happens in de-optimizing your life. So this idea of like just allowing yourself to sit and be bored, and that's when your brain like processes things, and you solve problems and things like that. But the second piece to that is, I didn't always have somebody there with me, and I didn't want to sit down and do nothing. So one of the things that I started doing was, I had essentially my contact list, and literally right before I would start eating, I would call everybody on the list until somebody picked up. And I would either FaceTime them if I could, or I would just call them on the phone and be like, and I would just let them know. And they got used to it over time. Like, hey, I'm going to eat while we talk. Is that cool? And I was able to have that connection while I was, you know, eating, which again, you know, America, loneliness is a pandemic, you know, or an epidemic. It is, it's killing a lot of people, but also like it brings suffering to a lot of people. So if we can even just put actions in place to improve our connection, like think about it, like not to get too far off topic, But like, what is one of the reasons that we can overeat? That's actually pretty common. It's lack of connection. We're not having our needs met. So when we, overeat, we feel more calm, we feel more connected, we feel more, we'll say, satiated. It's, not to go too far off tangent, but it's also the reason that we can overspend. If we have a chronic spending problem, generally there's something going on with our needs. They're not being met. Like I talked about this yesterday, but I've been pulled to feel video games or to play video games my entire life. And it's like, why? Well, one, when I was a child, that's when I felt the most love and connection because everyone around me was also playing video games and I played MMORPGs, right? World of Warcraft, let's go. Shout out. But even to this day, because of those deep superhighways, neuron superhighways, when I am deficient in a certain human need, whether it be certainty, uncertainty, love and connection, or significance, my brain goes, go play video games. But that's a signal for me. It's a signal that like I'm missing something. And then I can fill the gap with something else before I go to that. And I usually call a friend or I talk to my wife or I try to make a new friend or whatever it is. And even though I don't want to do those things when I feel that way, it's always the thing that makes me feel better faster, which is what we talked about yesterday as well.
I like that.
We're around the same age. Did you grow up playing video games? Does that resonate with you?
Oh, a lot. I just recently haven't been video games, so
okay, cool. Yeah, so you
do a lot.
What's your video game of choice?
I play a lot of like shooters, like first-person shooters, so Apex Legends.
Call of Duty. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, I had a good what do you want to call it? A good subset of my gaming history there as well.
Oh yeah, awesome.
I like it.
But you got your friends, you're connecting there too as well, so that's always a good part of it. But yeah, I mean that is a big thing with the connection side of things, that and it's either doing it around the dinner table. I like the idea of calling somebody on the phone because whether you realize it or not, somebody wants to hear from you. Somebody, if you called them and they'd be happy to answer the phone, and it's that you did it for a while and then people just kind of got used to it, and it's like, well, if you ever feel like that's where you're at with things, reaching out to family, calling people, just even while you're eating is, it's a good way to connect. And that's kind of, helps you slow down a little bit because, often when we're eating too quick and we're in these hurries, throughout the day, it continues into, you carry it home, you're eating super quick, like everything is in a rush, nothing is structured. And that just kind of leads to less structure in your life as well if everything is out of structure. But it's also making it to where you can easily overeat if you are just, on the fly and just not even taking a second to realize what's going on and listening to your body.
Totally. So, do you have any times in your life that you were really rushing through your meals, that you were hustling, if you will, through the meals?
I think about the same as when you're talking about the kid, like when they're you're just kind of strapping by, trying to get any time that you can yourself. And even then, like it's then before starting and like really being obviously we all have worked at this, and this is not you and I have been great at for probably for super long, but it's something that you're always working on. So, before I met my wife, and even when we would do things, like I've always been a very quick eater because it also stayed in my environment that I grew up in. Because when I was younger, my parents did the same thing. Anytime we would go somewhere, they were always super quick to eat because, I was kind of a fussy kid when I was younger. Surprise, surprise. My kid's that way now. So, he gets a lot from me on that, but it forced them to eat quicker. And then what that ended up turning into was me taking over for that, and I being super quick with the way I ate. And then I met my wife, and now we have pretty consistent dinners with her family, and they're very good at slowing down and just embracing the food that we have, and saying a prayer before if you're really, I mean, doesn't even matter. It's just like being grateful for where you're at and what
Yeah.
you're eating, but also having company to talk to and knowing that it's not, hey, it's not a race to get done the quickest. And I know it's very easy to get into the mindset of fast, fast, fast,
Optimizing. Yeah.
optimizing, but food is one of those spots where you want to optimize the food that you're putting into your body, but you don't want to have to optimize the speed at which you're eating it, because then you're kind of, there's a almost an opposite effect where you're just not giving your body time to catch up, and you're finding yourself overeating. When you just slow down, your body's going to tell you when it's satisfied and or full.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was more of an environmental thing for me, and over the last probably 3-4 years, it's been something that I've been a lot more cognizant of, because of influences in my life and things like that have helped with it.
Yeah.
But it's very easy to forget to do those things. So reminding yourself, take 1 second before you go ahead and eat that meal, and just remind yourself that it's a blessing to have. Remember to savor the food, because there's some pretty darn good flavors out there that a lot of times we aren't experiencing because we are rushing through it. So yeah, that's kind of where it's been the last 3 or 4 years where I've been really kind of dialing in on that and enjoying food more for what it is.
Yeah. It's interesting to think about how many of the habits that we've developed from childhood that we might not even be aware of.
Yep.
They could be around food. They could be around, how we view the world. They could be how we view ourselves, how we view others. And I think it's always a good opportunity to take inventory, right?
Mm.
Hopefully, at the very least, like these podcasts are really an opportunity to spark one idea. And maybe it's around mindful eating, or maybe it's something else. Maybe this makes you think of something else, and then that leads to a distinction. Because I think there's sometimes a misconception that, right, that the RN body breakthrough is one breakthrough, but it's not. It's multiple breakthroughs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Men can even have multiple breakthroughs. The idea is that you want to be able to have these distinctions that consistently happen, that leads to, what maybe objectively looks like a breakthrough.
Yeah.
I actually just posted about, it was Kylie this morning. Kylie has had many of these aha moments, and, of course, it on the outside looks like, it's a breakthrough, but it's just a consistent number of breakthroughs. So proud of her. Shout out to Kylie. Woo!
Shout out.
Shout out. Woo! Let's go. Cool. Well, this is great. Anything else that comes to mind?
No, I guess kind of on that front with the environment thing, with the environment that you grew up in, is pay attention to that your kids as well, because that's it's whatever you're doing is going to be how they learn of what they're going to be doing,
right,
and go about their life. So what the food decisions, eating too fast, all these things that we're doing unconsciously, more than likely your kids are going to be picking onto that, and they're going to be applying that in one way or the other, and it's just it just kind of stems it's a domino effect, and it happens year after, and that's why I feel like things have just kind of went, we're dealing with more and more issues at childhood, and younger kids having issues with all that, because they're seeing it from the parents firsthand. Like there's a lot of unhealthy habits that we've developed over the years, over the generations, and just haven't really noticed it, and really, like I said, take inventory of what's actually going on. So I think that's very important as well to kind of bring up.
Yeah, I mean, kids will always do what they see, not what you tell them. Right.
Yeah.
I think there's something interesting too. I think maybe we could close with this. Right. We all know that if anyone's out there struggling with motivation, right, we all know that as human beings, you're motivated to do things that you have pain towards, or that you'll experience pleasure by getting. Meaning that, like, let's say weight loss, right? Let's say you're not motivated to lose weight, but you want to. It's just not painful enough. If you can connect more pain to where you are, then you'll be more motivated to take action, or you can connect more pleasure to getting the thing. And this is just a little hack out, the psychology hack for anybody out there that is struggling with motivation. Connect how, if you're a mother, that this transformation will lead to you being a better mother, and it will make this. You'll feel much more motivated to do it because at least what I found, right? I'm a father, not a mother, but a lot of the RNs that I worked with, the strongest forces in their identity is like, I'm a mom, right? It's how they describe themselves. If you were to ask, how would you describe yourself? The first thing they usually say is, I'm a mom, or I'm an RN, I'm their mom, So that's just a little motivation hack. But there's a lot of things you can do in that aspect as well. We could always make a podcast about that as well.
I like that. I think we can definitely address that down the road.
Cool. Sick. All right, guys. Hopefully you're having a great day out there. Feel free to like this. If this is beneficial in any way or you like these podcasts, if you like it, send it to more people in the group. Comment does the exact same thing. Hopefully this has benefited you in some way. And we'll put a link somewhere in case you're interested in working with Coach Chase or any of the coaches on our team. Hope you have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow.
See you.
Bye.